What's up? Welcome to the first ever Couch Fanatic Sports podcast. I'm your host, Noah Domangue, and honestly, I am very nervous but very excited to begin this journey. Since I'm going to be by myself, episode 1 without a guest, I kind of wanted to start off by explaining how Couch Fanatics came along and kind of our mission. So, basically, I've always been a sports junkie. I've always been obsessed with all things sports, anything I can get a hands on, and I've always been obsessed with sports media, writing and podcast and TV and radio. Everything like that attracted me, and I've always wanted to pursue this as a career. And I finally pulled the trigger by launching Couch Fanatic. Couch Fanatic Sports is a multimedia platform where we're on YouTube, TikTok, now podcasting, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we also have our own blogging section. And soon I'm gonna begin doing Twitch streams and stuff for video games. And honestly, I don't know how far we're gonna go. I honestly don't know if I'll ever achieve everything I wanted to achieve, but I'm gonna do it for the love of the game. Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not doing this for just money. I just love this. Like, I'm basically recording the conversations right here that I would be having with my friends on a PlayStation chat right now or on Snapchat. And I don't know. I really just love this side. So basically, a couple things you can come to expect with the podcast. We're going to be dropping every Thursday. We might eventually begin dropping multiple episodes a week. It just kind of depends. But as of right now, especially because of the season that we're in, we're going to be talking a lot of football. Because we're in the meat of football right now. And until baseball and basketball starts really picking up again, I envision us talking mostly football. And obviously, if big news happens in baseball or basketball, then we'll talk about it. But mainly, as of right now, focus on football. So let's just dig right in, honestly. Let's begin because just to clear things up, we just finished week 9 in the NFL season, and I think we have to talk about the Saints-Buccaneers game first. I don't think you can talk about week 9 without talking about the Saints and Buccaneers Sunday Night Football game. And the one thing I really took away from that game was that the Saints just they hate the Bucs. They went out there and they looked like a team that was looking to prove something, and they did. Sean Payton might have called the best game I've ever seen him call. I haven't seen Sean Payton call a game like that in a very, very long time. I haven't seen Drew look as good as he did in a very, very, very long time. Both of them were just on their A game from the coin toss till the end of the game. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the game, it started off first play of the game. Cam Jordan batted a pass by Tom Brady, and right there it's out the tone. And the defense got three. This game script went 3 and out. Saints drive downfield touchdown. 3 and out. The Bucks first possession. 3 and out. Saints drive downfield touchdown. Bucks 3 and out again. Saints drive down the field and they fumble at the 1 yard line. Bucks 3 and out again. The Saints go score again, and then making it 14-0. Then the Bucks, it wasn't a 3 and out, but it was quick, and the Saints went downfield again to score 21-0, and it was 21-0 like that, just as fast as you can blink. The score was 21-0 and the game was over. And I think a lot of that you can credit to the offense. Obviously, they continued to go down the field. They looked as well as they've done in, I don't know, a decade. The Saints offense looked amazing, but Saints defense was even more impressive because this was Antonio Brown's first game. Chris Godwin was back. Mike Evans was playing. Leonard Fournette was playing. Ronald Jones was playing. Gronkowski's playing. And Gronkowski was playing well up until that point. And the Saints just shut them down. It wasn't close. It was never even, the game was never in question who was going to win. And you can attribute that to the defense. The defense hit Tom Brady 9 times. They had 3 sacks. They forced 3 interceptions by Tom. It was an all-around beatdown. The Bucs couldn't get anything going all day, and the Saints really never gave them any leeway to get something going. But that's what happens. You can't get much going whenever you're getting hit every single play. It's Tom Brady. You can't have more than 200 yards of offense when you're getting hit every play. And that's just exactly what happened. The Bucs had 194 yards of total offense in a divisional game, and Tom Brady lost his second divisional game to the Saints this season. It's the first time in his career he's ever lost both divisional games in a season. That's a big deal. Tom Brady's been playing for a very, very long time. He's, by what many people say, he's the GOAT. Yet the GOAT was held to 3.8 QBR on Sunday. And I think the Saints saw, I think Sean Payton, I think Dennis Allen, I think Drew Brees, everybody on the Saints was seeing the hate that they were getting. This is a team that went 13-3 the last 2 years. They were the NFC number 1 seed 2 years ago. Last season they were the 3 seed, but it's because multiple teams went 3-0. 13-3. So, and then the Saints never lost anybody. So it really doesn't make sense that the media would jump off the Saints so quick as soon as Tampa Bay gets Tom Brady. Because Tampa Bay still never built an offensive line. They still never took these measures that you need to take in order to create a winning team. And that was evident by Tom Brady getting hit so many times, because you can have all the weapons you want. You can have Tom Brady. You can have an awesome defense. But if you don't have an offensive line, your offense isn't going to get much done, especially against a great front seven like the Saints. The Saints' defensive front seven since 2017, like late 2017, and then like really since 2018, has been amazing. Like, they've have a stretch. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher since 2018 or 2017. That's crazy to think about. They've played against like Ezekiel Elliott. They play Christian McCaffrey twice a year. They've played against very good running backs, and they bottle them up. And that's a tribute to DeMario Davis and Cam Jordan and Alex Anzalone when he's healthy, and Sheldon Rankins, and the emergence of Trey Hendrickson, and all these other Marcus Davenport, and all these other great pass rushers and great just run defenders. The Saints constantly prove that they can stop the run. So what happens whenever you can prove that? The Buccaneers set a new NFL record for the least amount of rushing attempts in a game. The Buccaneers only ran the ball 5 times. 5 total times. And you can really say they only ran it 4, because one of those 5 times was a kneel down by Blaine Gabbert in the game when they were down 38-3. Like, this game was ugly. And Tampa never even had a chance to run the ball because they're down early so much. And they never really even tried to establish a run. So I think part of that is they realized how good the Saints' rush defense was. And I think another part of that was, hey, we're going to have to score points to keep up with Drew tonight. Because Drew and Sean, they're on a mission. They look dangerous. And I think something that's very scary for the rest of the NFL, Alvin Kamara only had 40 yards rushing. Michael Thomas only had 51 yards receiving. So the Saints' 2 best offensive players, like all pro caliber players, very, 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 very good football players, were held to 90 total yards. Yeah, the Saints still put up 38 points. Like, think about that. The Saints still put up 38 points and 420 yards with Kamara and Michael Thomas really not doing much. And, like, they never had to. And if you watch the game, you realize the score should have been worse than 38-3. Because if Jared Cook doesn't fumble at the 1-yard line, it's a touchdown. If Jared Cook, sorry, I'm going to be picking on him because he made a couple mistakes, but, it's okay. If Jared Cook doesn't drop a pass to convert a 3rd down at, like, in the red zone, they go score a touchdown instead of a field goal. So now it's +4, 42, plus another 7 for the fumble, 49. And then, again, Jared Cook, they were driving and around midfield. He was supposed to block Shaquille Barrett, and Shaquille Barrett just blew by him. Now, obviously, you can't blame Jared Cook on him. Like, a tight end shouldn't have to try and block one of the best pass rushers in the game. Like, Shaquille Barrett led the NFL in sacks last season. You can't get that mad at him for not being able to block him. But Shaquille Barrett blew by him, hit Drew's arm as he was going to throw. Drew fumbled. The Bucs got the ball back. There's a legit chance the Saints could have put up 50 points in this game. And that's crazy to think about because the Bucs have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They definitely have one of the best front sevens in the NFL, and they have a very good young emerging secondary. But I think I don't want to write off the Bucs. They're a good football team. You can never count on Tom Brady in the playoffs. But this performance, I think it shows where they are in the NFC. I think it shows that they're not among the big boys yet. Yet, at least. Now, next season, if they go get some offensive line help, yeah, they'll be up there. But I can't see Tampa going into, especially in a normal season, like full crowds, I can't see them going to the Dome and beating the Saints. As we saw, they beat them twice already. But I can't see Tampa going to Seattle and beating the Seahawks. I can't see Tampa going to Green Bay and beating the Packers. And it's just, if you can't go beat the top dogs, then you're not going to be able to compete, obviously. Like, Tampa's a very good football team. They're probably going to finish like 12-4, 11-5. The problem is they're a game and a half back of the Saints right now. Well, they're technically a half game back, but they're technically like a game and a half back because the Saints hold the tiebreaker. So the only way that Tampa can win the division is if the Saints lose 2 more games than them this season, like from this point on. The Saints have to lose 2 games, and Tampa has to go undefeated. So the Saints would have to go 12-4, and the Bucs would have to go 13-3. And looking ahead at the schedules, the Saints' schedule is pretty easy coming up. The only team that they really play is the Chiefs. They have the 49ers this week, but they're leveled with injuries. They have Falcons twice. They have the Panthers. Then they one more time in week 17. The Vikings on Christmas, which they've been slowly like coming back to form, and part of that's Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer's a great coach, but it's just very hard to sit here and say that it's just hard to say that that he's going to go to the Superdome and beat the Saints, especially with their past, especially with how much the Saints are going to be motivated for that game. It's highly unlikely. That's what I'm going to say. So there's a chance the Saints can go undefeated from this point out. Now they're going to have to win a big game against the Chiefs. It's going to be a prove-it game. But I think they'll be up to the task. Anyways, there was other games on this weekend besides the Saints, so we can get into those. Let's move to college football real quick. There's 2 really big games this weekend. One ended up being a dud. We can talk about the dud first. So, number 8, Florida against number 5, Georgia. It's a neutral site game because they do the weird thing in Jacksonville. I will say, though, it is really cool whenever you look how they separate it, because they separate it behind the goalposts. Like, when somebody kicks a field goal, you see, like in a normal year, you see a sea of, like, orange, and then, like, a sea of red or black. Like, it's, like, just, it's a line, and then you can see the 2 fan bases, and that's really, 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 really cool. Like, really, really cool. But getting to the game, Florida went out there and they finally stopped being Georgia's little brother, because Kyle Trask went out there and threw for 474 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, Kyle Trask has been playing his butt off this season. Kyle Trask is having a Joe Burrow type emergence. Maybe not to the same level, but he's playing amazing football right now. I've seen mock drafts with him going in the top 12 picks. And like, this was a guy who didn't even start in high school, but he's gonna be a first round pick in the NFL. And honestly, there's really not much to talk about in this game. Georgia's defense, who is supposed to be just awesome, wasn't. They couldn't hold Florida down. They couldn't prevent Florida from doing anything all game. Florida had almost 600 yards. They had 100 yards rushing, 97 yards rushing, and 174 yards passing. Like, Florida went out there and did everything they wanted with the Bulldog defense. And I have to wonder, at what point do Georgia fans start calling for Kirby's job? And I know it sounds silly to say, because he is obviously very good coach. He's led Georgia to the SEC championship game the last few years. He's guaranteed 10 to 11 regular season wins every single year. But he has this weird thing about him to where, like, he can't win a big game. He lets Daddy Saban and Alabama beat him all the time, just like in the 2018 championship game when Tua came in at halftime and led the comeback. It was an awesome comeback, but you can't let that happen. And then the next season, whenever they met again, Alabama and Georgia met in the SEC championship game. And Tua got, like, he re-aggravated an injury, and Jalen Hurts played in the second half, and then Jalen Hurts went out there and won the game for Alabama, and Kirby just got out, coached again. And then last season, SEC championship game, Georgia had to win the game to make the playoffs, and LSU went out there and beat them by 100. Like, LSU dog walked them. It wasn't close. It never was close. And now, going back, this is Georgia's biggest game, and they lose. Because that's just what they do. The only win that Kirby Smart has 2 signature wins. SEC championship game when they beat Auburn, but they ended up losing the national championship later that year. I have trouble counting that as a big win whenever you beat an Auburn team that later lost to UCF in the Sugar Bowl. Like, they lost to UCF, and that's one of Kirby's big wins? No, you can't. That's not one of his big wins. It can't be. And you didn't have to play Bama. And then not only did you not have to play Bama, you played a team that lost to UCF. Then the second big win would be the semifinal win that same year against Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma, in the Rose Bowl, when it was an awesome game. It was an electric game. I believe it was like a double overtime, like Baker and Jake Fromm matching score for score. It was great. But then Georgia went out there and lost the national championship game to Saban. And at what point, like, seriously think about it. At what point do Georgia fans just get, like, so annoyed with Kirby Smart saying, like, yo, we have the talent, you're a great recruiter, but, like, we can't win the big one? At what point do they do that? If they ever. I mean, they might not. But their 2 losses this season. Road loss to Alabama, who was number 2 in the time. Which, I mean, it's not a bad loss. I mean, a road loss to Alabama is not a bad loss. It is a bad loss when you lose 41-24. Especially whenever the narrative entering that game is that you have a great defense. Your offense is, alright. But the narrative entering that game was, can Kirby finally beat Daddy Saban? And we found out, can't. So then what do? They go beat up on Kentucky. They hold Kentucky to 3 points. They only score 14 points in Kentucky. Like, okay, that's a little troubling. Whatever. Kentucky has a decent defense. Just scratch it. They just came off a big loss. They're going to get up for Florida. They go to Florida. Well, they don't go to. It's a neutral site, but you know what I mean. They play Florida, and they lose 44-28. You can't lose that game if you're Georgia, and you definitely can't get blown out like that. You definitely can't get blown out if you begin the game on a 14-0 run. Like, how do you open the game on a 14-0 run and still lose by 26 points? I'm sorry, 16 points. How does that happen? It can't. That can't happen. You can't be up on a 14-point run and then lose by 16. That's a 30-point swing. How do you let a 30-point swing happen like that? You can't let that. That's coaching. That's nothing more than coaching. And if you watch the game, Stetson Bennett got hurt. I haven't seen anything on it. I don't know how he's doing. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's okay. But yeah, Georgia's got some stuff to figure out for sure. And I don't think they need any more talk than that. So, moving on to our other really, really, really big game from that weekend was Notre Dame and Clemson. And obviously, you got the number 1 team in the country, Clemson, traveling to South Bend without their quarterback. And that's going to play play a big role here because a Clemson team traveling on the road to number 14 in the country, losing with their backup quarterback by 7 in double overtime, that's a very good loss. And it's a very good loss whenever you see that they can potentially just face them again in an ACC championship game and go beat them. If Clemson can go out there and beat Notre Dame in the ACC championship game with Trevor Lawrence, Clemson's in the playoffs. That Notre Dame win doesn't look good, especially if Clemson can beat them like bad. Like if they can beat them by a couple touchdowns, Notre Dame might miss the playoffs because of it. But big story. There's a few big stories. Number one, the freshman quarterback for Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei is his name, and he looked great. 439 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked awesome. And as much as I say, like, Trevor Lawrence makes a difference in the game, which I believe, just Trevor Lawrence at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I think the field opens up more for Trevor Lawrence, and it's not like a prove it, because that's what Notre Dame did. Notre Dame said, we're going to stop the run. Your freshman quarterback has to beat us. And they did. Notre Dame held Clemson to 34 yards on 33 carries. They held Travis Etienne to 18 carries for 28 yards. Travis Etienne averaged 7.2 yards per carry last season. Like, that's a great running back. And Notre Dame said, we're going to stop the run. We're going to win in the trenches. Your freshman quarterback has to beat us. And he almost did. But Notre Dame said that, like, we're going to make your young guy beat us. And if he does, then, oh well, this is out of our hands. He did his job. Just tip your cap and move on. And then Notre Dame, on the other hand, ran for 208 yards. They made it a point that, hey, you're not going to be able to run the ball, and we're going to run the ball for a lot. And their leading running back actually carried the ball 23 times for 140 yards. Kyron Williams carried the ball for that much. Like, he ran all over Clemson. And I think that helped open up Ian Book's passing game a lot. Ian Book threw for 310 yards and a touchdown. Looked fine, 22 of 39. Nothing spectacular, but they did enough to put up 47 points on that Brett Venable defense to give them a win. And, like, I get it. If you look at the stats, you see DJ played really well. Notre Dame still found a way to win. Trevor Lawrence does make a difference because DJ played very well. Well, okay, I hear you. But at the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence is out there, it's a different feel. It's a different, like, vibe to the game. It's a different, just, state of mind. And Clemson can, I think the running game opens up more because Notre Dame wouldn't say, hey, we got to stop the run. Notre Dame's going to say, hey, we have to stop Trevor Lawrence. And then that's what makes Travis Etienne so effective. But instead, they crowded the line. They stopped the run. They said, you got to beat us, throw in the arm. And at the end of the day, DJ played great, but he didn't do enough to win. Or he technically did. He played well enough for his team to win, but at the end of the day, he didn't win the game. And I saw a couple people on social media. My dad kept going. My dad too, when we were watching the game, he was like, "You got to go for 2 here." Notre Dame scored like very little time left in the fourth quarter, tied a game, kicked the extra point, tied a game, and sent to overtime. And he kept going like, "No, you gotta go for 2. You gotta go for 2." And usually I am the same way. I'm like, "No, you go for the win," especially if you're at the home team, especially if you're the underdog. Like, I have a theory in sports: you never do what your opposing team wants you to do. In baseball, if the opposing team wants you to take out your starting pitcher, you leave him in, because if you take him out, that's what they want, because they know they're not going to hit him. In football, if the opposing team is like basically begging you, please do not go for 2, please kick an extra point, then you go for 2. In this situation, I think Dabo was daring them to go for 2. I think they were saying, please don't kick an extra point, please go for 2. We're going to put this game on our defense. But I kept saying, I think you have to make the freshman beat you in overtime. You have a senior quarterback. Ian Book might be a 5th-year senior, I think. He's been around the game forever. But you have to make the freshman quarterback beat you in that scenario. And that's exactly what Notre Dame did. And that's exactly the reason why they won. Kicked an extra point, went to overtime, made the true freshman trying to beat them. They won the game because he couldn't score on the second possession in overtime. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing else like to be said about it. Notre Dame went out there and got a big signature win. Now, thinking about it, Notre Dame might have just secured himself a playoff spot because of the Florida win. Because Georgia's gonna have 2 losses. They're out. Nobody from the Big 12's getting in. I can't imagine anyone from the Pac-12 is gonna get in with only 7 games. If Alabama goes undefeated, they beat Florida. Florida's out. Alabama's in. Ohio State goes undefeated. Everybody else in the Big Ten's out. Ohio State's in. If Clemson beats Notre Dame and they both go 10-1 or whatever, Clemson gets the 3rd spot because they won most recently. They won conference championship, and then it's down to an A&M team with 1 loss and a Notre Dame team with 1 loss. So if you examine the 1 losses, Notre Dame's was a conference championship loss to Clemson, but they also beat Clemson that year. A&M's loss is to Bama, and they got embarrassed. But that's it. Like, they don't really have any signature wins. Like, they won a home game against Florida, but Florida has 2 losses. But Notre Dame's big win is Clemson. So you have to give Notre Dame the spot over A&M. And unless Wisconsin can somehow find a way to play 8 games and then like lose in the conference championship or somehow beat Ohio State and they both sneak in, like, I don't know. I can't see another scenario that has a playoff that isn't Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, and Bama. And that's got to be exciting for Notre Dame fans. I know they were in it recently and they got embarrassed, but as a Notre Dame fan, you have to be excited about this. You have to be very excited about this win. You have to be very excited about the strategy that went into it. They had a great game plan and showed. Lastly, wrapping up college football talk shortly. LSU announced Myles Brennan is probably out for the season. It's very sad. It's very weird because like nobody really knows what really happened. LSU really never announced what happened. It was just kind of like, yeah, Myles is a little dinged up. He might not play this week. Oh, he might not play this week. Oh, he might not play this week. Oh, he might not play this week. And now we're a month in. They're saying, yeah, he's probably out for the season. And LSU fans are like, what? And also LSU Bama got canceled. 3 other SEC games got canceled this week. And this is really shaping up to be hell for the SEC schedule makers. I do not envy their job whatsoever. I do not wish to have that job. But as an LSU fan, I'm definitely okay without having to play Alabama this season because I don't feel like getting beat down like that. And I'm okay with our last game against Alabama being the Joe Burrow legacy game of 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm just okay with it because that game was awesome. And I'm okay with going multiple years without losing to Bama because it's been so long since after the 9 straight years of losing, it'd be nice to not lose for 2 years. And one of them's a win and the other one's just a no contest. So it's kind of a loser's mentality, but I don't care. That's where I'm at with this LSU season so far. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at now. So let's now just dig back into the NFL. In doing so, we let's jump into. I guess we can go game by game. Yeah, I guess we do game by game. Let's start with the Thursday night football game. The Packers and Niners. Niners go in. They're very, very banged up entering the game. They left the game very banged up. The Packers pretty much did what they wanted all night. Devontae Adams had a great game. Aaron Rodgers had a great game. There's really not much to say. I mean, Packers were out there. They're the better team. They're the healthier team. And that's what happened. They were the better team, and they were the healthier team. Rodgers went 25-31 for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's very, very, very good game. Just an all-around very good game. Devontae Adams had 10 catches for 173 yards and a touchdown. It's a great game. Like, Packers went out there and won 34-17, and it never really felt close. Like, it never felt like it was going to be a game that, like, we would, like, all remember. Like, this is a game you kind of just, like, watch and you're like, oh, man, I wish it was a better game than that. And you just never think about it again. Packers had 405 total yards, Niners had 337. Not much really going on, honestly. Both average 6.4 yards per play. And not really many penalties. It's not very sloppy. I mean, Niners had 2 turnovers, but the Packers had 0. It was just kind of a boring game. The better team went out there and beat the worst team. And the NFC champions from last year are now 4-5. So that's not ideal. As a San Francisco fan, though, and as just a football fan, I think we can all see the reason why they're playing so bad. It's just because of the amount of injuries they had. It's not whatsoever about the talent that's on the roster. Because they do have a lot of talent, but the Packers bounce back. They have a big statement win. Regardless of who it is, they've been struggling a little bit lately. They lost to the Bucs. They lost to the Vikings, and they needed this one. This was a let's get back on track game, and they did it. Moving on to the next game. Another game. Pretty uneventful. Not much to talk about. The Falcons and Broncos. The Falcons won 34-27. The score makes it look a lot closer than what it really was, because the Broncos only scored 6 points in the first 3 quarters and then put up 21 in the fourth. And they pretty much, like, it was just too little at too late by the time that their offense finally woke up, from the time that Drew Lock and finally woke up. One thing I'll note from this game, if you're a Broncos fan or an Alabama fan, honestly, but just a fan of the sport, Jerry Jeudy looked great. He caught 7 of his 14 targets, 125 yards and a touchdown. That's great line. Obviously, you want to see him catch more of those 14 targets. That's going to come. That comes with just relationship and chemistry between a quarterback and a wide receiver. It's going to get better with time. Noah Fant has been dealing with some weird lingering injuries to tight end for the Broncos. Hopefully they can get that figured out, because that guy is a special talent, and it would be just awful if he couldn't get right and, like, they couldn't really utilize him like the way we saw him in the first 2 weeks when he really, like, had great games. Like, it would be bad if we don't get to see that as football fans. For Atlanta, Matt Ryan played. Matt Ryan, 384 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. It's a Matt Ryan game. Matt Ryan played fine. The Falcons are doing this thing that they do every year. So whenever they start off really, really slow, and instead of tanking to get a good pick, they instead decide to win enough games to get a bad draft pick but miss the playoffs. They will instead pick number 13, 16. They'll miss the playoffs. And that's just how the Falcons go. And they're kind of in this, like, circle of mediocrity, to where soon they're going to have to probably destroy it and rebuild. And it might be this offseason. There's been rumblings about them making a trade up in the draft if they're not in a position to take a quarterback, and letting Matt Ryan go. And there are trade talks about Julio, which I'm happy they didn't do, because that's somebody you keep on your team forever, especially for as long as he's been there. But yeah, the Falcons are gonna Falcon, and they won, and that's pretty much all you can say, because I don't think as a Falcons fan at this point in the season you want to win. But the Falcons maybe be a good potential free agent coach destination in the offseason, because they have their interim coach now, but they could be looking at a Eric Bieniemy, or they could be looking at maybe a potential Joe Brady. Maybe, you never know. They could be looking at different guys of that caliber. Like, they need to go get an offensive guy, especially after having Dan Quinn all these years. But, like, the weapons they have on offense, if you can go get a Joe Brady or an Eric Bieniemy or another one of those guys, like, you can go out there and you can win some games. You can do some damage with an offensive coordinator like that. Moving on to the next game, we're going to go to the Bills and Seahawks. The main story from this game is Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen has been great this season. He's been, hear me out, people are going to get upset, but he's been the best quarterback from the 2018 draft class this season. He's been better than Lamar. He's been obviously been better than Baker and Sam Darnold, but Josh Allen he's in the MVP conversation. He's not, it doesn't start with him. It probably doesn't end with him either, but he's probably top 5 right now because Russell Wilson's there, Kyler Murray's there, Aaron Rodgers is there, Josh Allen's there, Patrick Mahomes is there. Josh Allen is in that conversation there. You can't have that conversation without Josh Allen because of the way he's playing this year. And after scuffling last couple games, scuffling in quotation marks, he's been for coming into the season. If you told the Bills fans Josh Allen would play like that, they'd be like, we'll take it. But it's because he started the season on such a tear. Like, he started the season just dominating everyone. And now he had a couple games here and there that he only had like 280 something yards, and the media starts saying like, oh, like Josh Allen, he's falling off. Couldn't beat the Chiefs and the Titans. Like this, and then coming into this game, it was a big proving game for the Bills. It was a big proving game for Josh Allen. Go to Seattle and beat the Seahawks and prove that you can compete. That you're not the Bills of last season who was just like there a year early. Like, you're here now, and that's what they did. They went to Seattle and Josh Allen put up 415 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for a touchdown. So Josh Allen had 415 yards and 4 total touchdowns. You can't ask for anything better. Like, seriously, he was actually the Couch Fanatic Sports Alpha of the Week this week, our weekly award for the most dominant player on Sunday. And yeah, he was outstanding. He put up 44 points against Seattle, and obviously it's Seattle. They have, I think, statistically the second worst pass defense in NFL history through the first 8 games. But he out-battled Russell Wilson. Right? Russell Wilson had less yards, less touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And Josh Allen threw no interceptions. Another person had a pretty big game, Stephon Diggs, which we've just come to expect that at this point. Stephon Diggs had 9 catches, 118 yards. DK Metcalf, another one we just kind of start to expect big games from at this point. 7 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. And I think, for a second, I want to talk about Russell Wilson and what's going on, because probably 3 weeks ago, he was just running away with the MVP race. Like, there was nobody close to him. And then recently, he's been, probably since the Cardinals game when they lost, or no, the Vikings game, whenever they came back, he's been scuffling a little bit. He's been throwing interceptions. He's been not throwing for as many touchdowns. He's been looking a little more panicky. But it's tough. It's tough to blame Russell Wilson because of his situation with this defense. Like, this defense is so bad. Like, this is so bad of a defense. It's miserable. I was watching ESPN and I saw Ryan Clark talk about it, and he said, like, in all sports, like in basketball, how you have free throws, and like that's what people can do, like, to get like back on track sometimes. And like for quarterbacks, there's quote unquote like free throw drives. Like, this is something you can go like just kind of work, like no pressure, no stress or whatever, like just like go try and score points. And they're like, Russell Wilson doesn't have any like free drives. He doesn't have any free throw drives because his defense is so bad. He knows he has to score on every single possession or they will lose the game. And it's a very interesting concept to think about, that Russell Wilson's putting so much like pressure on himself that he's like, I have to do this, and it's showing because he's been struggling lately, and it's not like a real struggle. Like, he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. but he hasn't been playing like the Russell Wilson we saw the first few weeks of the season. The Russell Wilson that was putting up on average like 30-something fantasy points a game. And part of that is because his defense is just so bad. And like he's putting so much pressure on himself, and he's forcing passes that he probably wouldn't be forcing. But like Russell Wilson's throwing the ball 40 times a game. He threw the ball 41 times this game. Before this season, he might have averaged 24. Like maybe. Like that's why Russ Cook started, was because they were always so conservative with the ball, and they never wanted to throw the ball. And it was always, guys, we have to let Russ cook. We gotta let Russ do Russ. Like we gotta stop running the ball so much. We gotta let Russ go win the game. And it started, and it was awesome. And it was this cute thing. And Russell Wilson started making T-shirts, and the whole team adopted the saying. And now it's like he's doing it all by himself, and he could do it all by himself on offense if his defense could get just 2 stops a game. Like, it's not him not having a running game that's the problem. Like, they have Chris Carson. He's hurt right now, but like they have people that can run the football. But he's playing behind a bad offensive line, and he's playing with a defense that is giving up a lot of points. And honestly, I think in the most truest sense of the word MVP, like most valuable player to, let's say, to their own team, I think Russell Wilson might be the most valuable player to his team in the NFL over the last 2 years. Lamar Jackson had a better season last year, so he won it, deservedly so. I think in the true sense of the word MVP, Russell Wilson was much more valuable. Russell Wilson's, the Seahawks probably don't make the playoffs. No, scratch that. They don't make the playoffs without Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson's on the team, and there you go. What is it? Didn't they go 13-3 or 12-4? And they were like a game. They were a yard short of winning the division in week 17. Like, that's a legit team. Like, whenever you hear that, but then you see how bad their defense is, and how bad their front seven is, and how bad their secondary is, and how bad their offensive line is, and you say, wow, this team is not good. Russell Wilson's just incredible. And if you look at Baltimore, Lamar Jackson was awesome last year. Lamar Jackson had a great season. Like, he was by far the best player, the best stats, everything. But he had a really, really good offensive line. He had a really, really, really good running game. Now, part of the running game being so good was because of him, too, running the ball and him being a threat. But Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards, like, they could run the ball for 200 yards a game on anybody. Their defense was one of the best, and still is one of the best in the NFL. If you take Lamar Jackson off the Ravens, they're not the 1 seed, they're not 13-3, not 14-2, whatever they went, but they probably go 11-5. They probably go make the playoffs. Seriously, like, Lamar Jackson doesn't mean as much to the Ravens as Russell Wilson means to Seahawks. And the same debate now. Patrick Mahomes is slowly, like, he closed the gap fast. I say slowly. He closed the gap, like, really, really fast. Russell Wilson had a few games with a bunch of interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has been flawless. He's thrown 1 interception all season. He's scored a ton of touchdowns. But does Russell Wilson mean more to the Seahawks than Patrick Mahomes means to the Chiefs? Yes. Because the Chiefs have 2 really good running backs in Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They have great receivers led by Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce as a tight end. They have a pretty good defense. Like, if you give Russell Wilson the Chiefs defense, they're very successful. They're undefeated right now. Russell Wilson's probably playing flawless football as well because he doesn't have the force. But this isn't trying to tear down anyone, for the record, because I love Patrick Mahomes. I love Lamar Jackson. They're very, very good football players, but I do, like, in the most basic sense of the word, most valuable player, I think the conversation starts and ends with Russell Wilson. But that's besides the point. I'm gonna, now that I went on my Russell Wilson soliloquy, Josh Allen's been awesome, for real. I know I've said it already, but Josh Allen has been awesome, and I'm happy fans outside of Buffalo are starting to see that. Next game, Titans-Bears. Titans win 24-17. This is another game that it wasn't really close until the end. Titans were up 17-0 at the end of the third quarter. The Bears' offense looked as anemic as ever. Couldn't run the ball. couldn't get anything going passing. Most of it's due to the bad offensive line, but they ran the ball 20 times, 56 yards. It's not going to get it done. Nick Foles had, the final line looks fine. 335 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you see he completed 36 to 52 passes. See, his QBR was under 40. And then the Titans, on the other hand, they didn't look that great on offense either. Tannehill had 158 yards. Derrick Henry only had 68 yards with 21 carries. Like, neither team really get anything going on offense. Now, part of that, the Bears' defense is the best defense in the NFL. Them and the Steelers. They are very, very good on defense, but the Bears, they got to figure something out on offense. I don't know what it is. Mitch Trubisky's not the answer. Nick Foles isn't the answer. I don't know who the answer is. I think it's probably starting fresh. But Matt Nagy, you have to be better than this. You're an offensive-minded head coach, and this offense is just pitiful. And I know part of it is not having a great offensive line. The offensive line's not good. People live in the backfield. It's full of injuries, yada, yada, yada. But when you're running jet sweeps with Cordell Patterson on 4th and 3s, when you're handing the ball off to Cordell Patterson to go get you a yard on a 3rd down play, like, I have a hard time defending you. Like, Ryan Pace, when you trade up to go get Mitch Trubisky, when Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were there, like, I have a hard time defending you. And what's probably going to happen is, in the offseason, they're going to go pick up a guy in the draft. They're going to get Zach Wilson from BYU. They're going to get Trey Lance or somebody like that. And it's going to buy Nagy and Pace probably 3 more years of their job, even though it shouldn't. Just, quite frankly, it shouldn't. But it's going to happen. Titans, 6-2. They're chugging along. They've, outside of that Bengals game last week, they've looked very good. They've been winning games. They've been finding a way to win games. Mike Vrabel is one of the best head coaches in football. I know he's only his 2nd year, but Mike Vrabel is probably a top 5 coach in the NFL right now. Maybe even top 3. I don't know where he'd fall on that, but yeah, Mike Vrabel is the absolute man. And I think we can pretty much wrap up our breakdown of this game. A.J. Brown went 4 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Good game. Allen Robinson went 7 catches, 81 yards. For the love of God, Allen Robinson, please leave the Bears this offseason, because you are just, like, your stats could be so much better. Bro, you're a very, very, very good receiver. And we're just kind of wasting our time here in Chicago. The next game is the Ravens and Colts. Ravens won 24-10. This game was funny. I don't know if you watched the game, you probably know what I'm talking about, but Philip Rivers did like the funniest old guy, like, oh, I'm trying thing I have ever seen in my entire life. So what happened was, it might have been Jonathan Taylor, I'm not sure. It was one of the Colts running backs, and they're running with the ball. Let's see. It was Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was running, and he got stripped, and he flipped the ball. And the defender grabbed to pick the ball up, and he picked the ball up, and he started running back, and he returned it for a touchdown. But whenever he returned it for a touchdown, Phil Rivers tried to tackle him, and then Phil Rivers all of a sudden just fell on his butt, and then like just kind of like threw his hands up in the air, like trying to trip at the guy as he jumped over him. It was like the all-time like effort, like I'm trying thing I've like ever seen. But yeah, the Ravens. Interesting stat from this game. This was the first time in Lamar Jackson's career that he has come back from a halftime deficit, which is big. He needed to do that. The Ravens move on to 6-2. Colts 5-3. The Ravens aren't. I don't think the Ravens are a legitimate threat in the AFC right now. I think the Steelers are better than them. I know the Chiefs are better than them. And you can make an argument that the Bills and Titans are also better than them. But I don't know. The Ravens, they're just Lamar Jackson hasn't looked like Lamar Jackson anymore. Like, he hasn't been able to consistently throw the football, and that's what he had to do to continue and be successful in this league, and he just hasn't done it. And it's honestly unexcusable. If you can't consistently throw the football, you won't succeed in the NFL. And it shows, considering that he's only thrown for over 200 yards twice this season in 8 games. Like, this game he threw for 170 yards. And they won a game, so it's hard to really follow some game script, yada yada yada. He carried the ball 58 yards and touchdown. But I don't know, if I'm I gotta be honest, if I'm a Ravens receiver, I would be pretty upset. Like, I know Marquise Brown has been very aggravated lately, and honestly, deservingly so. Like, this guy's an MVP, and he can't throw the football. Like, he still hasn't developed that consistently in this game. If he doesn't figure out soon, then I don't know how long he's going to be in the NFL. Like, I know it's kind of hot takey to say, but you're not going to make it in the NFL if you can only run the ball, because your legs aren't going to be there forever. And I really hope Lamar Jackson can throw the football, because he is electric. Whenever he breaks away on a 40-yard touchdown run, it is just electric. He's so fast, he's so quick, he's so smooth running the ball, and I don't want that to end. It's pretty awesome. Next game, Chiefs-Panthers. Chiefs survive a scare in a 33-31, and Joe Brady and the Panthers, Matt Rule and the Panthers, well done this season. You're only 3-6. You've been competitive in every single game, and you've looked good, and that was without McCaffrey. McCaffrey only played 3 of those 9 games. Like, this Panthers team looks good. Like, they look a lot better than anyone could have ever expected them. Teddy Bridgewater looks good. He threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns today. This week. McCaffrey came back in this game, had 70 rushing yards and touchdown. He also had 82 receiving yards and touchdown. It's vintage Christian McCaffrey. Curtis Samuel is being used. That's because of Joe Brady. As soon as Joe Brady went to Carolina, everyone should have known that Curtis Samuel was about to become a name. Like, Joe Brady's going to know how to use him, and it's picking up slowly and slowly, and it's really showing now. And, man, this Carolina offense is just loaded. Between McCaffrey and Samuel and Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and then you still have Mike Davis, and Ian Thomas is a big body at tight end. It's a good team. They're going to be good. Joe Brady's going to be the next, boy genius, head coach in the NFL within a couple years, the way it's going. What a rise to fame that guy was. Like, the guy went from getting coffee for the Saints quarterback coach 2 years ago to leading LSU to a national championship to now being the offensive coordinator of the Panthers. But yeah, Matt Rule and Joe Brady, they've got these guys right. Pat Mahomes was just vintage Patrick Mahomes, 372 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's just a Patrick Mahomes game at this point. Where Patrick Mahomes will probably be the GOAT when it's all said and done. There's a legit chance he's a GOAT, because he's gonna, the era that he plays in, they're passing the ball more than ever. If he can play for long enough, which I think he will, so if he can stay healthy, he'll hold every record, every passing yard, every touchdown, everything record-wise. He's gonna have the championships. He already has one. He might win another one this year. If him and Andy Reid stay together for 15, 20 years, they're gonna win championships. Then he also has the claim to fame that Aaron Rodgers used to have, is he can make every throw on the field. He can make every single throw on the field. Throwing it backwards, throwing it behind his back, throwing it between his legs, throwing it with his left hand. He can do everything. And if you combine those 3 into that guy, and he's such a likable guy, he's just a good dude. There's a legit chance 15 years from now we're looking back and we're the same way we look back at Joe Montana now and say oh well, nah, Tom Brady's the GOAT. We might be doing the same thing and saying Tom Brady, no, Pat Mahomes is the GOAT, and it's just universally accepted. But Pat Mahomes, he is the best football player I've ever seen. he throws the football unlike anything I've ever seen in my entire life. It's crazy. And I definitely understand why Andy Reid jumped in front of the Saints in 2011 to draft him and make sure that Sean Payton going to get him, because he is a weapon. He is a weapon of mass destruction is what he is. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill both had great games. Kelce had 10 catches, 159 yards on 12 targets. Tyreek Hill had 9 catches, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 18 targets. Tyreek Hill had 18 targets in this game. It just shows you how much trust Mahomes has in him. And honestly, this kind of shows how good the Chiefs are with how they can win a game differently every week. Like, if you go back to their slop win, whenever they ran for 200 yards on Monday Night Football, I think it was against the Bills, whenever they just ran the ball for 200 yards with Clyde, and that was before Le'Veon got there, and they won like that. And then this game, they're like, oh yeah, we can still just throw the ball for 400 yards and go win the game. Like, we don't need to run the ball with Clyde. And, like, they came out this game, they didn't really look sharp. The Panthers opened the game on, like, a long touchdown drive, probably 9 minutes or so. And Matt Rule made a statement on the opening drive whenever he went for it in the red zone, saying, no, like, we know, like, we're going to have to score touchdowns. If we want to beat the Chiefs, you have to score touchdowns. You can't kick field goals. They went for it. They got it. Christian McCaffrey catches a touchdown pass later to go up 7-0. And, like, Carolina just looked good, but the Chiefs still grinded and found a way to win. And that's what good teams have to do. They have to grind and find a way to win, even on games when they didn't really get up for it. They really didn't try necessarily. I don't want to say try, because, like, obviously it's still the NFL. Everyone's trying, but it's not the same as if they were going to the Superdome. Like, in few weeks they're going to the Superdome. That game for them is gonna be a lot different than playing at home against the Panthers in Week 9, then playing against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. In the AFC Championship game, they're gonna get up for it different than this game. But good teams still find a way to win this game, and that's what the Chiefs are. They're a very, very, very good team. And obviously, I don't really need to say that because they won the Super Bowl last year. Like, honestly, to be frank, like, they won the Super Bowl last year. Probably doesn't have to be said that they're a very good team. But I'm saying it anyways, because now, after phone call, we can keep it moving. Let's move along to Lions Vikings. Vikings now 3-5. A couple wins these last couple weeks. Dalvin Cook has been playing with his hair on fire the last couple weeks. He won the Alpha 2 weeks ago with 4 total touchdowns, 200-something yards. This week he had 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Vikings win. The Vikings have the potential to go on a little run here. If they can beat the Bears on Monday Night Football, their season's still very much alive. Their playoff hopes are very much alive, especially with a 7th seed, and especially if the NFL does the 8th seed, like they're talking about because of Corona. The Vikings, I was looking ahead a couple, like, after their win against the Packers 2 weeks ago, and I'm saying there's a chance Vikings to make the playoffs. And this is what very good coach teams do. Like, a Mike Zimmer coach team will never be bad for 16 games. No matter how much talent they have, they will never be bad for 16 games because he's just a good coach. So I knew the Vikings weren't going to be bad for 16 games. I knew they were going to shake back to form at some point, but they're 3-5. They're a couple games from 500. If you look at it, there was a couple games they should have won, but didn't, including like the Seahawks game that just flip a season around. So, I mean, the Vikings are better than the record indicates, and they can still go 10-6, 9-7, and 9-7 very might well be a playoff spot. You never know. So, regardless, Mike Zimmer's probably gonna keep his job, which is good. Lions season's probably over. Just being fair, they've just been lying. They've been the Lions like all season long. Matt Stafford got hurt in this game. Hope he's okay.
Haven't really seen much about it, but Chase Daniel had to go in. And, like, Chase Daniel, when he was on the Saints, like, his job's not to play. His job's like, oh, I'm gonna hang out on the sideline, like, make Stafford laugh twice a game. Like, his job is to just, like, hang out and hold the clipboard. Like, whenever he was when he was back up for Drew and the Saints, his job was literally to hang out and, like, get Drew's coffee. And that's the best job in the world. For the record, backup quarterback's best job in the world. I don't know why you'd want to be a starter. Backup, you're going to make more than this, but even if you just make the NFL minimum of $550,000, if you can make almost $600,000 a year to sit down in the front row of a football game and go throw a football around every now and then at practice and never get hit, it's a pretty good gig. Every now and then you might be like the holder, but a lot of teams now have the punter as the holder. So backup quarterback's a pretty good gig. I would definitely take it. Moving on, Giants and Washington football team. This game, biggest story was probably the injury to Kyle Allen. I hope he's okay. That was a very, 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 very scary injury. Dislocated ankle. I don't know how Alex Smith came in and played after watching that, because it was very similar to what happened to him. Like, I would have had PTSD if I was him and be like, no, I am not going in there. But it's also, I'm not a $100 million quarterback. That and I don't have arm talent like that. But besides the point, Alex Smith came in, threw for 325 yards, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's threw for 3 interceptions, but he was, it's weird. Like, it's hard to, like, ever. I wonder how long he has to play before we start, like, grading him, like, harshly again. But, like, after that injury, I don't know why. Like, the fact that he almost died, I don't know why he even wants to play football. Like, I just wouldn't. Like, you have a lot of money, you have a wife, you have kids. Like, I would stay away from it. That's just me, though. Daniel Jones, I saw a stat. It's pretty interesting. Daniel Jones is 4-0 in his career against Washington, and he is 1-13 against every other team in the NFL. So Washington accounts for 4 of his 5 wins. 80% of his wins is because of the incompetence of Dan Snyder. It's kind of crazy to think about. It really wasn't many big games from this game. Terry McLaurin had 7 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Very good game. Terry McLaurin is kind of like Allen Robinson in the sense that he is extremely, extremely talented, but he's kind of, I don't want to say being wasted, but like playing on as bad as an offense as he's on, it kind of sucks. At least as like a football fan, like it just kind of sucks. Next game, Texans and Jaguars. Texans win 27-25. Doug Marrone starting, Jake Luton, because Gardner Minshew was hurt, and they almost came out and won. Luton was like a 6th round pick this year out of Oregon State, I think, and Jacksonville almost won this game. Like, they went for 2-point conversion to tie the game in the 4th quarter, like right before the game ended, and they didn't get it. But I mean, the Steelers almost won this game. DJ Chark had 7 catches, 146 yards, and a touchdown. James Robinson had 99 yards rushing and a touchdown. Like, Luton was fine. 304 yards, touchdown, and pick. It's pretty much, if I had to say that's the stat line you're going to get from a 6th round rookie quarterback first start, probably take it. No, I guarantee you would take it. Sean Watson was awesome. He 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 50 yards. He wasn't like awesome, but like he was a Sean Watson. He had a good game. Will Fuller had 5 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks had 3 catches, 83 yards and a touchdown. And the Texans, I don't know what happened to them, bro. They just like fell off the face of the planet. Like, they were so good. Like, Bob really ruined them. Bill O'Brien, like, he ruined them. But the Texans were slated every year. They go 11-5 in the AFC South, and then they lose at the Saturday noon wild card game. Every year. It was just like bop, 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 boom. Just like that. Every single year, that was how it would go. and they would get scheduled. The early game was Saturday, and they would lose. And now it's just kind of like, yeah, we're just not going to make the playoffs at all. Instead, we're going to tank for Trevor Lawrence, even though we have Deshaun Watson and Miami owns our pick. Like, it's kind of crazy to see, like, their fall from grace. Like, it happened very, very, very fast. And DeAndre Hopkins has to be laughing, like, really hard whenever he thinks about it. I know he probably loves Deshaun Watson. I know he probably loves a lot of the guys over there. But, like, he really got out at a good time. Next game, we're going to talk about the Chargers and the Raiders. If you're a Chargers fan, I don't know how you're doing it anymore. Like, 39 losses by one score in the last 5 years. That's uncomprehendable. That's over 7 losses like that a season in the past 5 years. And it ended with Justin Herbert. He gets 2 plays from the goal line, like a couple yards away. And he threw back-to-back fade routes. One, Mike Williams dropped it and got hurt. And the second one, he threw it to a third-string tight end. And they called it a touchdown originally. I saw the ball hit the ground, like, live, but nobody else saw it, apparently. But the ref was on the other side. He couldn't see it. Come back from replay. Chargers lose the game. If you're the Chargers in that situation, as soon as they say touchdown, Chargers, you win the game, everyone should just sprint it to the locker room and, like, lock the door. Like, nope, we won. Like, you can't take it away from us. Nope, you said, you punched one the word, I saw it, you can't take it away. But I feel bad for the fans. Like, I don't know how they do it. Like, how do you watch every Sunday knowing how the game's going to end? Like, you know that you're going to lose in a heartbreaking fashion. Like, that was the old Phillip Rivers thing when he was there. It was always red zone, around 5:30, 6 o'clock. You knew you were going to see Phillip Rivers, minute 40 left, down 5, Chargers were going to lose. And I don't know, like, how you would, like, want to watch a game if you know it's going to end like that. Justin Herbert played great. He's been the very big bright spot on Chargers this year, number 6 pick in the draft. He almost led that team to a win. Throwing for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen had 9 catches, 103 yards and a touchdown. The Raiders, on the other hand, they just kind of ran the ball. And the Chargers throw it all day, averaging 6.2 yards a carry. They ran for 160 yards. And John Gruden almost blew this game to Anthony Lynn and Justin Herbert. And it's probably a good thing Gruden didn't. And now we're kind of like seeing 2 different sides of the coin. Like the Chargers were saying, like, man, like they got to get some stink off them or something. Like, this one-score game losing stuff is wild. But the Raiders could potentially sneak into the playoffs. They're 5-3 right now. You have to imagine that the Steelers, Ravens, Chiefs are all going to be there. Bills are going to be there. Then you have the Dolphins, Raiders, Browns, all fighting for a playoff spot. I'm really blanking on some teams right now. Let's go division by division. Let's see. Chiefs are going to win a division. Steelers are going to win their division. Titans are going to win their division. Bills are going to win their division. That's 4 of the 7 spots. The Ravens are taking one of the wild cards. So then you have the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Browns fighting for those final 3 spots. For those final 2 spots, those 3 teams. So I could really see any of those 2 making it in. Dolphins look really, really, really good. If I had to guess right now, the Dolphins are getting one of them, and it's between the Browns and Raiders. But the Raiders hold the tiebreaker of the Browns right now, beating them head-to-head. And the Raiders play in a much easier division because the Browns still have to play the Ravens and Steelers twice. So I would give the edge to the Raiders, which is it's hard to say as like a Baker fan because I want the Browns to make the playoffs. But Raiders probably going to be in, and that's going to be kind of crazy to think about what John Gruden's done. Next game, we're going to the Steelers and Cowboys. The Steelers, I don't understand what this game was. Like, coming into the game, I saw a stat that said Mike Tomlin was 1 and 9 against the spread whenever he was a road favorite by 10 or more points. So, if you don't know what that means, the Steelers, like the betting odds were for them to win by 10 or more points and then win the road. And he barely snuck out a game against Dallas's fourth-string quarterback, Garrett Gilbert, who was playing in the AAF last year. And they barely snuck out a game against one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. Like, them in Seattle have been fighting for the title of worst defense in the NFL. Them and Falcons, too. But, like, Dallas gives up a million points to everybody. And, like, Dallas can't move the ball against anybody. And it felt like Mike Tomlin came in and the Steelers came in high off of winning against Baltimore. We're undefeated. They suck. Like, everybody got relaxed. And then it just kind of like drug butt all game. It's just kind of what happened. And I don't know. That's not great. Cowboys fans, I am sorry that you have to, I'm sorry that you have to deal with what you're dealing with right now. I think you have to give Dak Prescott the bag, all of it, however much money Jerry Jones has in his bank account, you have to give it all to Dak. Because if Dak Prescott was this good, that he was hiding all of these problems for y'all, if he was hiding how bad the offensive line is, if he was getting Ezekiel Elliott still going, and he was still scoring with how bad his defense is, and winning games, competing in games, and he was supporting 3 fantasy relevant wide receivers at one point, or at least 2, CeeDee Lamb and Mark Cooper, but Michael Gallup was always an option. Dalton Schultz were always, a decent tight end option. And now the Cowboys what are they doing? They're going to probably have a top 8 pick this year. It's probably closer to a top 3. But the Cowboys are going to, it's a funny stat. The Cowboys are a game out of first place, but they're 2-7. They're a game out of first place because the NFC East is that bad. But at the same time, they're 2 games out of a number 1 pick. So the Cowboys are closer to winning the division than they are to a number 1 pick, as how bad they are. Which, that's just, I don't know, I find it funny. It's just, gosh, the NFC East is so bad this year. We have to just start doing basketball. Well, I guess the division winner still gets a spot, but and saying ranking them basketball at the end of the season, it's ranked 1 through 8, and the top teams that. It doesn't matter if you win your division or not. It doesn't matter, whatever. That's how the NFL needs to be. That's how baseball needs to be, because the Eagles could potentially go 5 wins. They could probably win 5 games and win the division, and host a playoff game, and it's gonna be the top wild card. So Tampa Bay could potentially have to go to the Eagles whenever they have more than double their wins. That's a very realistic possibility. Or the Rams or the Cardinals, or that's a realistic possibility. And it's kind of a messed up system. Speaking of Cardinals, let's move on to Dolphins-Cardinals. The Dolphins make another big statement in this one. Advanced to 5-3. Tua looked good. Tua didn't look great. He didn't look like Alabama Tua yet, but threw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think stats show a little bit better than what he actually did. I don't think he was remarkable. I've seen people hot takes oh my gosh, Tua, remembering how awesome Tua is. I'm yeah, but if you look at week 1 against the Rams, Tua was not Tua. Tua did not move the ball. And I get it, his first start against the Rams, so he had under 100 passing yards, so missed me with that. My buddy's a Dolphins fan. He was really hyping up Tua, saying Tua's 2-0. I'm the Dolphins are 2-0. Tua's not 2-0. No disrespect to Tua. This rookie quarterback class is awesome. There's probably going to be 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in this class. I think it's fair to project that it's possible. It's a little hot takey, but that's what we do around here. Like I said in the podcast description, you come here for the best and most correct takes in the world. So if you want the most best and correct takes in the world to impress your friends, say that. Because Burrow, Herbert, and Tua are going to be in the NFL for a very, 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 very long time. They are going to be the next Brady, Breeze, Peyton type, trio. Kyler Murray, he is, like I said, he's in the MVP conversation right now. He threw for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for 106 yards and a touchdown. Kyler Murray is a special player. He's every word. He's every meaning of the word remarkable. He's every meaning of the word awe-inspiring. Because like he is awesome. Like he's full of, whenever you watch it, you're full of awe. Like you're like, how does this guy do this? Like he runs around and his arms flail and his little head's bouncing up and down like he's a bobblehead, and he just gets stuff done. Like that's just what he does. He makes plays. He's a playmaker with his arms and with his legs, and he's a special player. I think it's awesome that they recognized this last season and went out there and get D-Hop. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in football. He's on the Michael Thomas, Julio, Devontae Adams. They're on like their own like little tier. But Kyler, I do have a little bit of beef with you. How do you end this game with DeAndre Hopkins only getting 3 targets? And only had a target before halftime. So you went the first half without throwing the ball once. And then, and you're down by 7 at halftime. Then you lost the game by 3 and you only threw the ball 3 times. A part of that, he was guarded by Xavier Howard and I guess to an extent Byron Jones, but most of the time he's on X. X is one of the best shutdown corners in the game. He's very, very, very underrated. But you gotta give your boy a chance. You gotta let him go make a play for you, man. Especially when you're losing, especially when it's a close game. You gotta say, that's my dude, I'm gonna hit him. And that's my one beef. I mean, Kyler Murray went 21 26, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns, like I said. He had a 150.5 quarterback rating. He had a 96.8 QBR. Like, he played lights out. I just wish he would throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins a little bit more. Tua, he's going to keep playing better and better. He's going to keep getting more comfortable. They're going to continue to open up the playbook a little bit more. But I'm ready for him to take the handcuffs off of him so we can start seeing Alabama Tua again. Because we forget, because of his injury and the emergence of Joe Burrow, how awesome Tua was. Tua was the promised son to all football fans. He was the golden child to us whenever he was a freshman and sophomore in Alabama. And I think a lot of us forgot that. And I think we're going to slowly get reminded as he leads the Dolphins here in the playoff run. Last game before we get into a little bit of MLB talk, because all the awards except for MVP are in at this time of the recording, and also we're probably gonna talk about the NBA on next podcast. But it was the Patriots Jets. The Jets. Round of applause for y'all guys. Y'all are awesome at tanking. It is impressive, and you're not even trying to tank. That's the crazy part. Adam Gase is just so incompetent that he just tanks for you, and you get a free excuse, and you blow a 10-point lead going in. You blow a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and it never looked like you were trying to blow the game. It's just kind of happened. Cam Newton went out there and won. Great job for the Jets, honestly. Cam Newton had a great game, 274 yards. He also ran for 16 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Jets were going to jet. Joe Flacco almost messed around and won the game, but Adam Gase was like, nah, my incompetence got this one, buddy. And honestly, I hope Trevor Lawrence doesn't go to the Jets. I hope somehow we can convince whoever the Jets owner is, be like, no. You want to trade out of this pick so you can get 2 players. He's like, oh, 2 players? 2 players? I don't know. The Jets need to just be kicked out of the National Football League. They are just so incompetent on so many levels. And the Mets were like this forever. And now they have Steve Cohen. It's going to be a little bit different. The Knicks are still like this. It's something about New York football. New York sports. The level of incompetence right now is just, it's mind-numbing. It's just what it is. It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. But Jacoby Myers of the New England Patriots, you probably have never heard of him before. He caught 12 passes for 169 yards in this victory. You've never heard of that guy. And here we are. It's just another Belichick. It's going find somebody that no one's ever heard of and going just dominate with them. But yeah, the Jets are awesome at tanking. The Pats aren't, since people think for some reason that they're trying to tank. But yeah. Moving along to wrap up baseball talk. We We have the managers of the year, Don Mattingly of the Marlins. Great selection. He deserved it. He took a very, very bad Marlins team, like one of the worst records in baseball last year, to the playoffs this year. And Kevin Cash of the Rays. He is the best manager in baseball. I don't care about the Blake Snell situation. I don't care how you feel about his analytics and yada, yada, yada. He's the best manager in baseball. He deserved the award. Plain and simple. He just deserved it. They got the Rookie of the Year. Picks right. Devin Williams, pitcher for the Brewers, had a great year. Just all around. He was lights out. Then you also have your boy from the Mariners. I am, for some reason, blanking on his name right now. Man, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. It was Kyle Lewis. He was unanimous decision. Kyle Lewis was just unbelievable this year. Obviously, considering he was the unanimous Rookie of the Year award winner. But like, I remember at the beginning of the season, whenever he was batting like 400, and like everybody was like, whoa. And then he started hitting for power, and everybody was like, whoa. And then like his brother was like going on like the broadcast and stuff. They were interviewing him. Yeah, Kyle Lewis ended up with a 126 weighted runs created plus. How to play. He's 26% better hitter than league average. He, like, if you look at my personal favorite stat, OPS, he had an 885 OPS. Like, the committee got this right. Like, the Writers Association got this right. They got the Devin Williams pick right. They got the Manager of the Year awards right. They also have the easiest decision in Major League Baseball history on the AL Cy Young Award winner, Shane Bieber. It just came across, I just got the notification that he won it. Shane Bieber had one of the best seasons in like recent memory because he was just, he was unhittable. Just straight up, he had a 1.69 ERA this season, and he struck out batters at like almost a 50% rate. Like MVPs, the MVP from the All-Star game last season. The guy finished 6th in American League Cy Young Award winner, like voting last year. Then he led the MLB in WAR this season and had a 1.63 ERA and a 2.07 WHIP. I mean FIP. If it has a 2.07 WHIP, that'd be bad. But he has 2.07 FIP. He struck batters out at a 41.1% rate. Like, he was just the definition of dominance. He was just so dominant. Like, there's just no other words to say it. He struggled in the postseason, and that's tough because that's like the most recent thing in our head. But he was so awesome. Like, there's nobody close to him, and he's probably should win the MVP. He might not. No, he won't. He's not a finalist, but he was probably the most valuable player in baseball this year. They haven't announced the Cy Young yet. If it doesn't announce in these last couple minutes, I'm gonna just throw something in at the end and talk about who it is. My MVP, I think Freddie Freeman's gonna win it for the National League. Not entirely sure. I feel like it's hard to give him that considering he was like the 4th best offensive player on his own team. I think Mookie Betts should win, but Freddie Freeman deserves it too. It's a very crowded race, as we kind of all could have pictured, with it being such a short season. Nobody could really like pull away, but Freddie Freeman would probably win. I would probably edge to Mookie Betts because I think Mookie Betts' position being an outfielder is a lot more important on the defensive side of baseball than first base. And Mookie Betts can also affect the game more with his awesome plays in the outfield and his throwing people out and doing stuff like that. And yeah, I think he's more valuable, but the Dodgers are also star-studded, so I mean the Rays are too. I don't know. I would give it to Mookie Betts. I think Freddie Freeman's gonna win. And AL, I don't know what way they're gonna go with that. Jose Ramirez is a finalist. Jose Abreu is a finalist. I think TJ LeMahieu is the other finalist. Jose Ramirez will probably win it. He had the highest WAR, but like I honestly don't know like who's gonna win. I think Shane Bieber probably should have got it. that's me. But unless it's like a very weak MVP crowd, then usually they won't give it to a pitcher. But I think he still deserves it no matter what. And it was kind of a weak MVP crowd. I'm gonna make my prediction real quick because it didn't come out yet. I'm gonna go Bauer probably won the NL Cy Young. I think he's most deserving, and then probably DeGrom second and Darvish third. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Jose Ramirez. I think Jose Ramirez is gonna be the winner of the MVP, just because he had higher WAR, and that's kind of what the writer's been basing it off of lately. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for today. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm glad that I started doing this, the first episode. I think it went well. If you have really anything that you want to talk to me about, you can message me on Facebook, Twitter at Couch Fanatic. You can find me on Twitter at Noah_Domangue. You can find our blogs at couchfanaticsports.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all that at Couch Fanatic Sports, with the Twitters at Couch Fanatic, and then the rest is Couch Fanatic Sports. You can find us on pretty much every platform. You'll be able to find the podcast. If you rather watch it on video, you watch it on YouTube. That's what I'm recording this for. And if you rather listen to it on podcast, listen to it in your car or whatever, find Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever you want. I mean, unless you live your life, you know. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Please subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review, rate it 5 stars for me so we can really get this thing growing. And if you're interested in watching me do some Twitch, because I'm going to be starting that up soon, you can follow me on Twitch at Noah_Domangue. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I actually recorded a full show on Monday about all this stuff with a buddy of mine, and then something happened to where I can't post it. So that's going to be the forever lost episode that maybe one day, a long time from now, we can share. But that's going to do it for today. I'm going to see y'all next week. I have a very, very awesome slate of guests coming up the next few weeks that I'm very, very, very excited for and to hang out with and chat and interview them and talk about their life and sports. So tune in next week for that surprise, and that's it. Everybody have a great day. Okay, update, since I'm a time traveler. Trevor Bauer was just announced the NL Cy Young Award winner. Not much of a shock there. He wasn't unanimous, but he did win it. And it was very deservingly so. He had a 1.73 ERA, struck out 36% of his batters. He went out there every 5th day, sometimes even on short rest on 3 or 4 days, and gave the Reds a chance to win. And he was a big, big reason on why the Reds had the success they had. And now he's a free agent. He's always said he likes 1-year contracts. He likes 1-year contracts. He only wants to sign 1-year contracts from here till the end, yada, yada, yada. But I can basically see one of two things happening. He's either going to sign like 1 year, $40 million somewhere to go win a ring, maybe like the Padres, hint, or he's going to, because of the market, he's going to go sign like a 3-year, 130 type contract, like, not 130, 120, because he, maybe less, maybe 3-year, 110, but that's the type of contract he's going to be more inclined to sign. He's going to decline shorter commitments, shorter years with a higher average annual value. And I always thought that was kind of a fascinating idea. Like, a lot of people, when they're scared to pay players, are scared to pay them more money because of the production they're going to get in the back end of their career. So I wonder if a team like the Padres, who are an ace away, would be willing to go pay Trevor Bauer $38 million a year over 3 years to try and go win a ring. Or I wonder if they're willing to go all in and give him $40 million for a 1-year deal, and it doesn't impact them signing Tatis. They already have they already have Machado, they already have Hosmer, he had a revelation, because that was a bad signing, and up until this season he's been bad. But I wonder what the market for Bauer is going to be, especially on down here like COVID, especially with the quote-unquote baggage that he brings. I think he's great for the game. I think he's wonderful for the game. He's done so much to help grow this game, but some people don't like how on the internet he is, how online he is, what he does in the momentum blogs, what he does with the YouTube, what he does just interacting on Twitter and calling out Rob Manfred. Like, I like it. He's electric. He does stuff on purpose in the game to try and go viral. That's hilarious. Like, he'll strike somebody out and he'll do the McGregor shot, and because he knows he's going to be on Pitching Ninja later that night. Like, he does stuff to help grow this game, and he cares about the life of baseball. He's not here to collect a paycheck. He's not here to just pitch well and do whatever. He's an awesome pitcher, yes, and he's great for the game. And I'm happy he got this hardware because after he had a rough season last year, and he decided to bounce back this year and just absolutely dominate. He shoved, and it was honestly pretty awesome to see. And then he pitched great in postseason too. Went 7 2/3, no runs against Braves. Braves have the best offense in baseball this year, and he shut them down. Brad Slater lost, I want to say in 14 innings, maybe even like longer. It was a long game, but they didn't lose because of Bauer. Bauer gave him a chance to win. Bauer did his job, and now Bauer's gonna get a handsome payday, regardless of what people think because of COVID. Bauer's about to get paid, and now that I gave you the update, this is the actual end of the podcast. Thank you if you made it this long. Especially for number one, I really thank you. I really appreciate the support, and I just wanted to say one very, very last thing. Love you guys.